Wisconsin's marquee race next year will be the battle for U.S. Senate, the rematch between incumbent Republican Senator Ron Johnson and the man he beat in 2010, former Democratic Senator Russ Feingold. The latest Marquette University Law School poll shows the race tightening, Feingold leading Johnson by 5 points in the poll that came out Thursday. We're talking about this and other survey results with the poll's director, Charles Franklin. Professor Franklin, good to have you on the program again.
Great to be back.
Well, let's talk about what happened in the Feingold-Johnson race since we last polled in April.
Back in April, which was right after Feingold announced that he was going to run, he held a 16-point lead, a very substantial lead, especially for someone that's been out of the state for as long as, out of office as long as he has. But this time, tightening to a 5-point race. You would expect some tightening as the race has begun to heat up, and the candidates, even though it's a long ways out, have started to talk about each other in not altogether complimentary ways. We also see that in Russ Feingold's favorability numbers, those have tightened a little bit, though he's still certainly more favorable than unfavorable. With Ron Johnson, he's slightly more unfavorable than favorable. But with Johnson, the big story is in the upper 30% of the states say they just don't know enough about him to have an opinion. Feingold's about 10 or 12 points less than that.
The other big change in the numbers we saw in April and now the numbers here in August deal with the GOP presidential race. And we see Scott Walker leading the pack, but it's by much less of a margin than it was back in April.
Back in April, he was at 40% of Republican voters. Now he's at 25%. That's still first place, but Ben Carson is at 13, Donald Trump at 9, and the rest in single digits behind that. I think one thing that you're seeing, though, is that in April, Walker was sort of at the height of his early takeoff in Iowa and other events in January, February, and March. And the second thing is the field of candidates is now fairly clear, and it's enormous with 17 candidates, that the votes just spread out. So most of these candidates are getting 2, 3, 4, 5% of the vote. It just spreads it very much. On the other hand, as Governor Walker reminds us, he's won 3 elections in this state. You know, this is a little bit of a surprise that he's not leading by more in his home state and among Republican voters.
Give us your sense of what's happening to the governor in the state of Wisconsin, in fact, since he's announced.
Yeah, well, we're seeing some decline in his job approval. He's down to 39% job approval. That's one of the lowest that we've ever measured in the Marquette poll since January of 2012. We also see that only 33% say they're happy that he's running for president. Finally, 37% say that he cares about people like them. Those are the negatives, and they represent lower job approval, lower acceptance of his run for president, as well as the empathy factor being low. Where he's very positive, 60% think he still gets things done. And when you look within the party, 70% of people who call themselves Republicans say they're happy for him to be running for president. But look at independents who lean Republican, a group that gave Walker 85% of their votes last time. Among that group, only 44% say they're happy that he's running for president. And for pure independents, 15% or less. Democrats, of course, less than that.
Pretty dramatic change. Let's talk about the Democratic race for a moment, presidential race. Bernie Sanders, who was not a candidate yet back in April when the last poll was done, is a candidate now. He makes a fairly strong showing in this poll against Hillary Clinton.
He does. He's at 32%. She's at 44%. So she's clearly advantaged there or ahead there, but Sanders is doing quite well. Also, when we look at favorable and unfavorable ratings of the candidates, Sanders is, I think, the only presidential contender that we asked about who has, in the whole population, more favorables than unfavorables. Now, it's fair to add that upwards of 40% don't know who he is, and so there's certainly a selection effect about who's paying attention there. But it certainly is looking like it could be a competitive race here between Clinton and Sanders. The rest of the field is well behind Biden at 12% if he should get in the race. The other 3 Democratic candidates poll at 1% or less.
Professor Charles Franklin is the director of the Marquette University Law School polls. Good to have you back on the program.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. Coming up next, the new political party in Wisconsin. Who makes up the Working Families Party? And are they splitting from state Democrats?